What is going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday. Let's back it up for a second. Now let's bring you on in. Hey, how you doing? Welcome on into another edition of the Ryan Ripken Show. It's Tuesday, January 6th here. I think if I'm doing the episode count, we're at episode 112. Zach, I don't know if that episode's accurate. I've just been throwing around numbers, but that's for the new numbering system. Okay?
We've had to have had more than like a 112.
I mean, I just said the numbering system that it's at now is 112. Okay, we've had more.
Is that like, does that number come from somewhere? Like you counted 112?
Yeah, it came from me.
Did you just throw 112 out there?
You know what? When I was looking at the numbers when I was posting on Spotify and Apple, it just made sense. They're labeled.
That could because I celebrated my 100th stream like a year ago.
Yeah, okay, Zach, this isn't about the streams. It's about the amount of episodes I put on the episode or like on the podcast platforms, okay? All right, bud.
Happy 112.
Happy 112. Hey, but you know what? That's irrelevant here in this situation. And also, Zach, I'm proud of you. You're a good kid. And everyone out there, you are all good kids in my book. And we got some good kids joining us today, though, specifically, and that is the highest level of endearment here on the Ryan Ripken Show. We were supposed to have Dan Orlovsky for the show, but we got Dan Orlovsky right before, and Dano gave us some thoughts on the Ravens, Harbaugh, Lamar. We'll talk about that. We got a stacked lineup. 5:30 from PressBox.com or PressBox in general. Bo Smolka is going to join us. 6 p.m. We are having legendary broadcaster Trey Wingo. You've probably seen him a lot over the years working at ESPN. And then at 6:30, Ravens tight end Charlie Kolar is going to join us here. We're going to have a vibe and good time. Not that the vibes are necessarily high with the Ravens, but it is something we're going to talk about. And we got a great group of people to discuss this. And sprinkled in here, we are going to talk a little bit of baseball because I know we've turned the corner. There is one MLB analyst out there or reporter that keeps bringing up about, well, the Orioles have the pieces to make another trade. While I agree, Zach, I'm going to disagree with how he thinks that process is going to go. So for all that and a whole lot more, hey, how you doing? Thank you for joining. And Zach, one more time, how are you doing?
You know, it's another day in paradise. Another day in paradise. We got a fun show. What more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? It felt like our guest list as the minutes got closer to showtime. We just kept on adding. Turned out to be a packed show. So let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun. Hey, everyone, hands in. Hands in. Zach. Fun on 3. 1, 2, 3, fun.
Fun. That was good.
Episode 112. All right, and this is brought to you by our friends over at Merritt Clubs, merrittclubs.com for more information on deals, rewards, and I'll throw up the M, Zach. Boom. We're rocking and rolling.
Is that sweet? We could also do like a.
Is that what Marshall did?
No. Go hard.
Okay. All right. Oh gosh, that's an elite logo. That is an elite logo right there.
Oh yeah, baby.
Beautiful. All right, let's dive into this. So we had Dan Orlovsky, ESPN analyst, on. And first and foremost, Dano is one of the nicest dudes I have met in this industry. Whether you agree with him on his football takes, hey, that's up to you. But I think he's very objective when it comes to players and their situations. Why don't we start with this first one, okay? Let's start with the obvious thing about what's going to happen with John Harbaugh. What does he think should happen with John Harbaugh? And a lot of people have been the defense of John Harbaugh. Not just it's not personal, but they say how great of a person he is, but it's how great of a coach. And actually, Dan Orlovsky didn't use the word great, Zach. He used the word elite. So let's play that clip right now. I got it, and we'll react on the other side. To you enough of a change with their structure that you could feel that things could be different next year?
Cut. Yeah, cut it. Sorry, cut it. John Harbaugh was just fired. John Harbaugh is out as the Ravens head coach. Wow. Yeah, cut that. Cut that. This is so weird, Ryan, because I was just about to show you this. My father is cleaning up
dude.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
No freaking way it actually happened. And that's why we're live at 5. Holy shirts and pants.
Yeah, sorry. We started getting in that video and I was like, this is kind of irrelevant right now. But
wow.
So this is actually very funny timing. My father about 20 minutes ago texted me and said, "Hey, cleaning up some Christmas stuff, and at the bottom of the box where we use newspaper to separate some things, this was the paper that was used at the bottom of the box. We got Billick fired, and Eric DaCosta is informing the team now."
I don't. Okay. I'm actually very speechless. It kind of doesn't feel real that just happened. Not that we didn't know it was a possibility. Damn. Hey, Zach, you mind changing the title real quickly?
Yes. Yeah.
So breaking news, John Harbaugh is done as the coach of the Baltimore Ravens. It would have been great if Dan was on when this happened too, by the way. Zach, I'm seeing comments in here, and the reason why I'm shocked and I feel certain ways, like this is an ending of an era. Like this is it. For those that like what?
And I'm going to age myself here, obviously. I remember obviously some of Billick very young. I believe I was in first grade when he was fired in 2008. But for me personally, this is going to be the first time. I mean, this is the first time in 20 years for pretty much that the Ravens will not be led by John Harbaugh. That's insane. I'm shaking.
Holy shirts and pants. So yeah, are you getting the title and all that stuff changed?
It's all fixed. It's all fixed
for everything.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Let's start with this.
Oh my God.
I am kind of sad in this sense, and again, it's not because of everything that we talked about, because things needed to change. I actually do have a clip from Dan that is relevant to the situation. So we still have something to lean on. We actually have a few clips from Dan to lean on. But the bigger part here is that, to the point that you made, the person that has been at the head of the Baltimore Ravens, that has led that locker room since 2008, is no longer going to be at the helm. And that from an ownership standpoint, this was an extremely, extremely challenging decision to make, because you have such a love for someone. And as much as people want to be pissed off with what's happened this year and what's happened the previous years, which rightfully so, you should be mad, because what's the result and the expectation in Baltimore's act to win a Super Bowl? And the Ravens have fallen short for a lot of reasons. They've also had many years of being in it. Not many teams can say that they are contending to win a championship almost on a year-to-year basis. They didn't accomplish it, but contending. And like we've said before, can't thank John Harbaugh enough for everything he's done for this organization. I want whatever happens next, and I'm sure we're going to see what's going to happen next. I hope nothing but the absolute best for him. And while it's a sad day in Baltimore Ravens history with that, it's also a moment of new hope. Zach, this is the other side now. There is going to be a new voice that's going to come in And that could be the new piece he's going to be tasked with getting this team over the hump. And that changes everything. And you could tell, like, it was felt, right? It was felt that this is where things were going. I'm
speechless. Like, I'm going to be honest. I did not I'm going to be real. Like, my initial reaction is nerves now. Like, yes, there is this. Like, yes, it is. And I've been getting a lot of texts. This was a hard decision to make. I think down the line, it is going to be the right one. But Ryan, let's not ignore the fact that now they need to nail this hire.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing is, like, we can talk about Harbaugh's downsides and his flaws and everything. Yeah. Did I think it was time to move on? I was very vocal. Yes. I thought the message was gone. It just is like, now that it happened, I'm sitting here and I'm like, where do they go? Like, what, is it a Minter? Is it a Kubiak? Is it,
And again, for those who haven't seen this, like, it's real. Adam Schefter tweeted this out. John Harbaugh is out. Second longest tenured head coach in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, like, look, it's just shocking that it actually happened. That's the biggest thing, is that it actually came to fruition. But to your point, Zach, some people can say that this was long overdue because of what have you done for me lately? But we can still go back to 2023, Zach. Just 2 years ago, the Ravens were hosting the AFC Championship game. They were dominant. And I know a lot of people were saying, well, that could have been the moment for Mike McDonald to swoop in and take in. But you and I both know you're not making a change there, because why would you? Like, why would you when you were that close to the doorstep with the group that you had? Now, good for Mike McDonald and good for the Seattle Seahawks in identifying. And then last year, if the Ravens go to Buffalo and they win that game in Buffalo and they're in the AFC Championship game, are we having the same type of feel? Maybe, but I think it's because of the accumulation of these tough losses and the accumulation of things need to change. And that's where it's at. I mean, let's not sugarcoat this other part. The Ravens have had one of the winningest records with John Harbaugh. They've had one of the top records with Lamar Jackson as a starting quarterback, and yet they've also had the most double-digit losses over this period of time, and they've also had some of the most heartbreaking losses, not just in Ravens history. I'd say in NFL history. There are, like, the Ravens are in there with some absolutely heartbreaking moments. You could argue the one that they were on the positive side was the Mile High Miracle. And the other ones were completely gut-wrenching. And to go no further than Sunday night in Pittsburgh, where also the Ravens were 3-10 against the Steelers over the last 13 games. Damn. That is
I mean, we can throw out everything we had at the beginning of the show.
Well, we have some things to throw out here because whoever's coming in next, Zach, you need to create the identity for the Baltimore Ravens. So I asked Dan Orlovsky this question because yesterday, Zach, I asked you the question, what was the Ravens' identity? And you said there isn't one.
Yeah, I was looking forward to the room. I was wondering if the identity was in the room with us because there wasn't at the end.
Is it with us? Right.
Yeah, so is the identity in the room?
So yesterday I asked you guys. Today I asked ESPN analyst Dan Orlovsky what he considered the Ravens' identity. And Zach, here's his answer. So we do have something that's relevant because this next coach, that's going to be what they need to create is that Ravens culture again. Here it is. The Ravens' identity. Do you have a way to describe it? Like right now?
Now, yeah. I grew up at the same time as you. Right now, it's They've got an unbelievable playmaker at quarterback. And that's about it. You know, there's no one in their front seven that puts the fear of God in you. That doesn't mean there's not good players. Obviously, Rowe, Matabike, healthy, but when I was growing up, it was Haloti Nada and it was Terrell Suggs. I mean, guys that put the fear of God in you. They got to get that back. And I do think there needs to be that we are going to beat you up. Like, we're going to beat you up element that needs to come back. And that's a little bit coach driven and very, very much so player driven.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was looking for, because I said growing up, the words I had was like gritty, ferocious, teams
mean.
were fearful. What?
Mean.
Right? Mean. There it is.
A mean group.
Yeah, like I would say, like watching that Steelers game, and this pains me to say this when everyone wants to say that, hey, the Ravens have been the more talented team over the years. I think they have. But if you're looking at this rivalry, it's not a rivalry right now. The Steelers have won 10 of the last 13. And that's their culture has stayed the same. They have a little bit more of that fear, the gritty. They might be missing pieces offensively, but that's been a difference. It's that it hasn't wavered what Pittsburgh Steelers football is. Baltimore's identity has. So,
yeah, I mean,
where to explain a little bit more with that, when we're saying identity, it's not that the Ravens don't have talented players. And so, but the identity has been, or what people have looked at it as, is Lamar be Superman, and you'll figure it out. 2023 Ravens, and even second half of 2024 Ravens, they ran the football consistently. Offense was unbelievable, and that defense down the stretch in 2024 was very good. In 2023, it was mean. It was diabolically ferocious. Like that is where the conversation is. And Kieran, I saw your comments there. It's not trying to be a slap in the face to the other players, but Zach, Kyle Hamilton, Unique New York, is a unbelievable player. But when you look at that side of the defense, does anyone put the fear of God in you like it was in the past? Kyle can, but if it's just him, who else? So, I think that Dan is right with that, is that the team doesn't have that same fear. No one feared playing the Ravens this year, which is so strange to say.
Yeah, I mean, it got the idea of playing the Ravens was worse than actually playing them. I kept saying that. I saw that a lot with talking about the playoffs. Like, oh, if the Ravens get in, they're dangerous. We'll never know. It's like, well, the Kanye thing. Like, I guess we'll never know. But yeah, it just felt like the idea of the Ravens was better than the actual Ravens at the end. You kept on saying to yourself, like, oh, this defense can get together. Oh, Lamar and the offense will step up. And it just never clicked. It just simply never clicked. They never got to that spot. And we're going to sit here, and you got to be introspective and brutally honest with yourself. And I think they are now. 2023 was the year. That was the year they needed to. They had the Chiefs at the bank for the AFC Championship. It was a close game. You held them, to 17 points. You got to win that game. That was the year. I think they won it. They should have won it all that year. Heck, Chris Jones said literally the next week at the Super Bowl, he was like, oh, no, that's the best team in the NFL. And I think after that, they slowly lost the identity more and more. And it became less, Mike McDonald leaves. And, you can say different things this year, like obviously Matabike going down hurts. Roquan Smith, it seems, is just kind of taking a little bit of a step back the past few years. Still a top player, but not that, guy when Patrick Queen was next to him that you're, kind of fearing that middle linebacker group. It just felt like, even with Derrick Henry, there were times where it finally felt like against the Packers where you're like, man, this is Ravens football. Offensively, at least, let's pound the rock and let's assert dominance there. But then on the other side, it was a team I've never seen before. defensively. Malik Willis, all respect to him. I mean, I think he's got talent, but like Malik Willis driving up and down the field on you. And like it just, they don't have that identity. I guess you can say now they didn't have that identity. And that's got to be the biggest thing in a coaching search is, hey, how do we get that identity? Where do we want our identity? Are they going to get a Jesse Minter, a Brian Flores, and they're going to go, hey, we are focusing defensively? Or do they go get a Clint Kubiak, a young up-and-coming offensive guy? I think that's going to be the big thing. I'm very intrigued if they go offense or defense and how that's going to go. Me personally, and this is not anything I've heard or anything, I would like a young or an up-and-coming offensive guy, and I'm still going to pound the table, bring Jim Schwartz in, get a young, head coach, and have Jim be the guy that they can lean on, but the defense is his. I think that could work out. But it's a new day in Baltimore. Like it is, the Baltimore Ravens franchise was forever changed today, whether for the positive or for the worse. Like it's the reality. Like this is 18 years that they were together. This was Harbaugh's team for 18 years. And for the first time since 2008, we sit here right now and you can say with 100% fact, John Harbaugh is not the coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And that's weird. That's weird. Whether you think it's the right move or not, it's weird.
It's weird. But it was a possibility that some had to see it to believe it. Well, you got to believe it because it's out there. John Harbaugh's out after 18 years, man. And the next person, though, I bet it's going to start in the trenches. That's where the Ravens have always, they drew the line in the sand. That's when they were at their best. Offensive line, defensive line, tough, gritty football, and then you build from there. Pound the rock, create havoc on defense. It's going to be really interesting what that's going to be moving forward here. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show, we're live Monday through Friday. We are changing the time to 3 to 5 next week, but today it's 5 to 7. We were going to talk about other things, but not anymore. But it hasn't changed our guest list completely here because, Bo, are you ready? Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to rock and roll. So I guess this is perfect timing because we're going to have a few opinions here on today's show. So Ravens beat writer for Press Box. Let's bring on Bo Smolka. Bo, what timing? First off, how you doing?
Good. Thanks.
I mean, just rip the Band-Aid off. Thoughts? Harbaugh is gone.
My thought was originally if he were to go, and of course we've been talking about this for a month now. My thought was if he were to go, it would be his choice. I wasn't sure Bisciotti would make the move. Now I've heard that it's a firing, which tells me it's Bisciotti's move. But again, we're just hearing about this a minute before I came over here with you. So if it's Bisciotti's choice, it's interesting because as we know, John Harbaugh has a 3-year contract extension that hasn't even started yet. It starts this fall. So I don't know what the language is to get out of that and all that. So that can all be sorted out. I suspect, what ultimately happened was Steve Bisciotti is reading the tea leaves and understanding the temperature of this fan base, which is his customer base. And they are demanding change. And I understand it. John Harbaugh has been very successful here for a long time, but everyone will point to the playoff failures, the expectations always falling short. I wasn't at the locker room cleanout yesterday. I was still driving home from Pittsburgh, but my understanding is several players in there said, hey, you know what? As long as we have Lamar Jackson, we have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But I'm telling you, they've said that every single year, and it hasn't happened yet. And I think that's the thing. I think at some point the fan base is tired of the expectation, the not matching the results. And the decision now is that just something has to change. Like, we've tried it. We have to do something different. And as I said, I think ultimately Steve Bisciotti, who likes John Harbaugh a lot, I'm sure this was a very extremely difficult decision for Bisciotti to make. But he's a businessman. He's got to make tough calls now and then. And I think, as I said, I suspect he just read the room and realized that his fan base was not going to tolerate more of this.
I mean, it felt like, Bo, that if John stayed, there was going to have to be drastic changes to, whether the defensive coordinator position would had to have been addressed because of where the team was. I think Todd Monken overall has done a solid job, very good job. Up until this year, everyone was praising Todd Monken, but clearly there's a disconnect between whatever the game plan is and the results on the field. And then the biggest elephant in the room is fourth quarter leads. This was the worst I had remembered. And I don't know if you know the stat off the top of your head, Bo, because I don't, but it's the worst I remember Ravens in primetime games. And the Ravens at home, it was their worst, tied for or officially was their worst record, 3-6 in Baltimore. The game came down to Pittsburgh and the missed kick, but it really didn't, because there were so many opportunities throughout the year. The Ravens they win this division. They could have higher seeding, and then we're not having this conversation yet.
We might not be having this conversation if Tyler Lute made the kick. I mean, the bottom line is that would be the case. We would not be having this conversation if they were planning to play Houston this week. I promise you that. Now whether it would have happened a month from now, I don't know, but that's kind of the weird thing here. But to your point, there were a lot of things that were not good. And the fourth quarter lead thing is something that has transcended years. It's transcended defensive coordinators. And that's the other thing I think people point out. When there have been problems with blown leads or with offensive mismanagement or whatever the things have been, people will point out that this has spanned multiple coordinators. This isn't just a Todd Monken thing. It's not just a Zach Orr thing. So ultimately you say, well, what is the common denominator here? And it's Harbaugh. And I think Harbaugh is a CEO that delegates very well to his people. And you have to, when you're out there watching it practice, I mean, there's people on 3 different fields. Harbaugh can't see everything. You have to trust your people. But ultimately, it's his team. And when we see these failures over time, over the different coordinators, that tells you that there's something that ultimately points to him. And so, that was part of it. The 6 home losses certainly is something Bisciotti had to notice. Even after this year started with the bad blown lead at Buffalo and all the injuries, and they're 1-5, and then they get the soft underbelly of a schedule. They go back to 6-5, and you have this feel good moment here. Oh, we're back to level. Like everyone, you could feel in the locker room, everyone felt like, okay, we weathered that. We're okay now. And then they go and lose to the Bengals on Thanksgiving night, and on a night they didn't look particularly good. And they lose to Pittsburgh at home, and suddenly they're right back on their heels again. And it just felt all along, it just felt like it was missing. Something was missing. And whether that's just the fabric of being a winner this year or whatever, just weird luck that goes against them or whatever it might be, something was missing. But again, the blown leads is something a lot of people point to, and that spans several years and several coordinators. So again, that's one of the things people will certainly point to as being impetus for a change.
Yeah, I mean, look, this run of it, right? 18 years. Ravens have been a contending team for 18 years for the most part. They've had really 1 year, and it was 2015 where they really fell out early. The injuries banged up. But other than that, there was hope and optimism that they could make some noise every single year. Other than that, if I gotta go back and look, Lamar getting injured aside, and even when Lamar went down, there was still a chance at the playoffs for.
I mean, they made the playoffs the 1 year. Tyler Huntley played in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs without him.
Oh, I mean, gosh, yes, they did. I mean, so
to your point though, I was thinking this on the way to Pittsburgh this weekend as I'm driving up there, and I know a lot of people wanted to run Harbaugh out of town. I understand the sentiment. What you also have to appreciate though, and I'm not a Harbaugh apologist here, I'm just pointing this out. Almost every single year, every single game for this team mattered. Almost every year. They very rarely played games when they were mathematically not a factor in the playoff race. And not every team can say that. It's not that easy to be that consistent. So they've been consistently a contender, and I think that's one reason why he's around for 18 years. But again, the problem is frequently they've not just been contenders, they've been favorites, or they've been expected to go a long way, and they haven't been able to do it. And so now the feeling is, well, let's make a change, and maybe we can finally do it. I don't know if they will. You know, they've got Lamar Jackson in his prime now. His contract thing is something they got to deal with. But I think ultimately that's what it came down to.
Oh, a lot to unpack here. If everyone's new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We're live 5 days a week now. We're also we're gearing up for baseball season, but we're going to heal on baseball season for a moment. Bo, we're supposed to talk to Charlie Kolar, you know, later on, and I'm hoping we still are. Yeah. I think there's a couple other guys I've talked to already, just text messages right now. Not just, you know, from players to former players to people in it. It's a mixed feeling right now overall. Like I'm still sitting here, like there's a sadness, but it felt like it had to be done. Now the next thing, and I want to point out, Adit, thank you for it. Everyone's going to wonder who is the next guy going to be. And Adit's saying here, Jesse Minter could be an option. And Zach, maybe that's this next place where we can go with Bo, is what the Ravens are going to be looking for here.
Yeah. Well, let me say one thing before that about Kolar. I hope Kolar comes on with you. He's a very introspective guy, super interesting guy. I believe players, and I've been around, not this team obviously, but I've been around other teams where changes have been made, like a manager gets fired or a coach gets fired or whatever. Players, I think, ultimately feel a little bit guilty about that their performance cost this person their job, and that's a heavy burden for a player to have. And they're going, I think, whether they wanted change or not, this is someone losing their job, and there's no getting around it. And I think players will bear a little bit of guilt for that. But I hope to hear from Kolar. I mean, I know, I wasn't at the locker room cleanout yesterday, but my understanding he was kind of candid and has a lot of good perspective. He's a pending free agent too, so he has another interesting twist coming from that point of view. So I hope he gets on your show.
Yeah, and we've had Charlie on in the past, and he's phenomenal. You know, this is the reality, right? Like, I've grown up in the sports world, Bo, as you know, and with the family, and the reality is you can love people, you can feel guilty about what you think that you could have done better. And that a lot of guys are going to feel that way. They're going to feel responsible. Even if they felt there should have been a change, they're the ones going out to play the game. And I always felt when we didn't play well, I felt like we were letting then the other people down around, even if I had a disagreement. I'm still the player out there to go play. And the reality in this business, if you don't win or you don't reach the expectation, people lose their jobs. Just look at the Baltimore Orioles this past year. They had high expectations, completely underperformed off the gate, and then they cleaned house. So it's not new to sports. It's the business of sports. And when you lose, change happens. But Zach, speaking of change then, what is next?
Yeah, Bo, I actually wanted your opinion real fast on this. How big of a, say do you think Lamar Jackson has in the next head coach? Because I think that becomes now this next thing. We can sit here and I can say, oh, I want a defensive guy, or the fans can go, oh, we want, so-and-so and so-and-so. In your opinion, how much of this is going to come down to Eric DeCosta, Steve Bisciotti sitting down with Lamar and being like, what do you think of this guy? Because he is, like you said, he's the franchise.
I know it's going to be fascinating because, I mean, normally Lamar Jackson after the season goes back to Florida and he kind of lays low until summer. I mean, he hasn't even been up here for OTAs usually. So now he's got his whole contract renegotiation. He's also got to deal with probably this spring. So there's going to have to be conversations between them. But you remember last time the contract negotiations happened with him, he wouldn't answer his phone, or his phone wasn't working, and he asked to be traded. And there was that whole thing, and then it got settled. I mean, obviously, I think now Steve Bisciotti, remember last time he had a guy do this 18 years ago, he went completely off the board and took an Eagles special teams coordinator that was not a guy that was on the short lists of head coaches at the time. And he validated it by getting 18 good years and a Super Bowl out of John Harbaugh. So I really don't know how Steve Bisciotti will angle this. I do think that with Lamar Jackson here, there has to be a focus on what can we do here to maximize his ability and get the most out of him. Whether that's sitting down with Lamar Jackson and saying, hey, who do you want? I don't know if that's the way they'll go. I think that's more likely to be the case with a quarterback's coach. But I heard you mention Jim Schwartz. I think Jim Schwartz would be a great defensive coach here. I mean, he's a great defensive coach. He's a Baltimore guy. I have no idea what the interest level would be there but I think they'll cast a pretty wide net, but I think ultimately fans generally like offensive guys. It looks sexy. They score points, this and that. But then look at Mike McDonald, right? Mike McDonald's the boy wonder, and now he's doing it in Seattle again. So a good, strong defensive coach can win, period. But I think I don't think they will sit down with Lamar Jackson and say, hey, is that the guy? Is that the guy? I don't think Lamar Jackson will have that kind of clout. I don't think they'll lean on him like that. But I do think they will say, privately or not, can this guy, with the staff he builds, get the most out of Lamar Jackson? That's going to be the most important thing.
Yeah. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Again, Ryan Ripken Show. We're live Monday through Friday. I'm still processing all this. We're here with Bo Smolka with Press Box, beat writer for the Ravens. And Bo, I was even going to bring up to you because, I mean, this is transition for you, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, I mean, hey, how about that for a send-off?
It's true.
Insane.
It's true. So just so you know, my family has left New Jersey. They've moved to New Jersey. My wife got a job in New Jersey. My son is in medical school in New Jersey. My daughter's at Notre Dame. So we are leaving the Baltimore area. And I had said a couple months ago, their last game was basically going to be my last day. And now this happened the next day. But it's funny because I started covering the Ravens the year that Cundiff shanked the kick, and I end up covering I end my run with the Ravens the year Luke shanks the kick. It's a weird bookends. But yes, I mean, I won't be around for a lot of what the new look is. I'm still here for the next month or so, but technically I wasn't going to be working after the last game. We'll see what that looks like, but it's strange. So I'm not envying my friends on the beat that are going to be chasing leads and going crazy over the next few weeks to try to sort all this out.
Yeah, I don't know if many people covering the team are going to rival that. Hey, where were you when you started your career? Well, actually, you guys remember the Billy Cundiff game where it was a 34-yard field goal, whatever it was. He missed it by 60 yards. I was at that one, and then, I was at the one where the Ravens had a chance to beat their rival in Pittsburgh. But as always, I like to use this phrase, Bo, the weirdest shit happens in Pittsburgh. Well, it clearly did yet again. And, I know the ironic thing, by the way, with this, because people said Tucker would have drilled that. Tucker was 1 for 3 in Pittsburgh last year in an 18-16 loss. Surely I get there where everyone goes, but to my point, Pittsburgh has created some of the craziest outcomes that I don't think I could explain, or a script couldn't have even written it any better. You just have to see it to believe it. And in this case, it was the final matchup between Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. People were right about that. And here we are. One thing I just saw this tweet, Bo, before I let you go. I think Diana Rossini just tweeted this out and said that one of the key points, and again, these are all, everyone has some opinions here, but she was saying that a key pressure point in the Harbaugh dismissal was the refusal to entertain moving Todd Monken. Just your thoughts on that, because if anyone were to say that there was issues, the defense had more of the issues there. But obviously there was tension on the offensive side. Do you have any thoughts on any of this reporting here?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, Todd Monken had, my understanding, is interviewed for the job at Michigan a couple weeks ago. There was talk of him being interviewed or interested in a couple other college jobs. He's widely regarded as an offensive guy. And the interesting thing was, I think the perception was Todd Monken might end up being the fall guy here. There were several times during the course of the season that John was more publicly critical of Todd Monken than he was of Zach Orr. I still think that I think Monken did a good job overall. I think they completely botched the end of that New England game with the quote rotation and leaving Derrick Henry on the sideline for that key series. That's one example with Monken. Overall, I think he did a good job. I didn't know about this, that whether it sounds like it was either Monken go or I don't go or whatever. But for honestly, up until maybe even this morning, I was thinking Monken would be gone one way or another. But I also thought if Monken were to go and Harbaugh stayed and Zach Orr stayed, that would not placate the fan base who wants to see, they want to see systemic changes to the defensive staff. Whether that happens or not, it probably will now because a new coach will come in and bring their own people in. But I think the feeling was the defense was way more broken than the offense, and especially with the blown leads and especially the way that fourth quarter went against Pittsburgh. Now, Kyle Hamilton got hurt and that changed everything. But I do believe the feeling was among the fans, it was the defense that needed more change than the offense.
Yeah.
I agree. And a lot of people say, I think also another thing while I was thinking about it, Bo, I wonder with everything, because Zach Orr being a young defensive coordinator and people were coming at him hot, I almost feel like Harbaugh did try to protect him more because of all that. And there's so many different reasons. Todd Monken's been around. I agree with you, though. I think overall, if we go back to the last 2 years, everyone's saying Todd Monken finally unlocked this offense. Todd Monken's getting the best out of Lamar Jackson and this team. And how quickly things can change. And now it looks like for the whole group, be shocked, right? If this coaching staff, whoever comes in next is probably going to get a clean slate of who they want.
And that's generally how it works, right? Sometimes you keep one or two guys as holdovers to help with the transition. The building, the people, the process. But that's not usually at the coordinator level. It might be someone else. And they've got enough people who have been here a long time that can do that. But no, most likely it'll be a massive turnover in the coaching staff now.
Well, Bo, thank you for making your debut to the show. This was not how I anticipated. I was going to ask more about, hey, how did it feel in the stadium in Pittsburgh when the kick happened or Likely's catch? But now that all just seems like a moot point. It's like, that feeling of being the energy sucked out, whatever energy and emotion people felt from Sunday night, it's almost like it's now forgotten. Everyone's going, John Harbaugh is no longer the coach of the Baltimore Ravens. But is there anything that we can plug for you or anything if people want to know what you're going to be up to next or where they can continue to check in on Bo?
Well, you can check me at Pressbox Online for now and at BSMOLKA at BSmolka on Twitter. I don't know what's next quite yet, and I don't know what to extent I'll be chasing these leads on this new coaching search, but I appreciate having you on. I'll say this one last thing about the game in Pittsburgh. I know Lamar Jackson takes a lot of heat for, coming up short in big games. He made unbelievable plays in that game and clearly made enough plays to win that game. So, I know people are killing him sometimes. Oh, every time they need a big game, but some of the plays he made in that game just defied belief. And that's kind of what they know they have with him. And that's why TV loves him. He's just irresistible to watch. But he made some great plays, and he remains kind of one of the most supremely entertaining talents in the league. And the Ravens have him, and they have to figure out how to do his contract and stuff. But any new coach coming in is going to have that. Mostly, it's a great thing to have. And like I said, wrapping up, I'm not a John Harbaugh apologist, but he's done a lot of good things here for a lot of years, and people should appreciate that. And it will be very interesting because if things don't start out smoothly with the next coach, we'll see how much people be careful what you wish for kind of thing. But the whole coaching search itself is going to be very, very interesting to watch, especially the way Bisciotti handled the last one and went off the board completely in hiring Harbaugh to begin with.
Yeah. Well, end of an era here, Bo. End of an era for John Harbaugh. End of an era for you with Pressbox. Appreciate everything. I'm sure that we will stay in touch, though.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you. You as well.
And appreciate you making your debut, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Bo Smolka, everybody. And if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show, we are live. And breaking, if you guys don't know, for some reason, John Harbaugh is out, and they're saying it's being fired, Zach. That's the term that's been thrown out there. Fired.
Yeah. Just saw that apparently Steve Bisciotti and John Harbaugh had a very all-day meeting today, which reportedly had some, in quotes, tough conversations. And this is where it came to. This is what it came to an end. It's that, this definitely is seeming more and more, we always said it's going to be a mutual thing. It would be a mutual thing. From all the reports, maybe it is because of Monken. Maybe it is he wanted to keep some guys. Maybe it is they didn't agree on something. But it is looking more and more like the Ravens said, hey, thanks for everything. We got it from here. But I do want to say something real fast that Bo kind of touched on at the end. We can sit here and go, yes, this needed to be done. You needed a change of voice. But let's not act like the grass is automatically going to be greener. That's why I keep saying they need to nail the hire, because you can very quickly, and I'm going to say it, I will go out on a limb. If I had a coaching vacancy right now and you don't want Harbaugh, this probably stinks because the Ravens become, besides Harbaugh, the most probably attractive coaching vacancy. I mean, do you want to go to the Raiders or do you want to go to the Ravens? If it's between those two or something like that, it's going to be very intriguing to see what happens, but they have to nail the hire. They have to.
Could you imagine if John Harbaugh went to the Raiders with the number 1 overall pick and playing against Jim and the Chargers twice a year? You know how much the networks would talk about that. Brothers facing off. I still think the Giants are going to be really aggressive now for Harbaugh. And I think the Giants actually is a great landing spot for whoever gets the job, because the Giants actually have pieces on both sides of the ball. Like they actually do, but man, do they have issues that they have to fix. And I'm really curious, but right now, a lot of people said John Harbaugh would become the most popular name on the block. Well, he certainly now is the most popular name as he is out as the Ravens head coach. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We are live Monday through Friday. Zach, sorry, you look like you're staring at something.
Yeah, we actually just had a statement released by the Baltimore Orioles and owner Steve Bisciotti saying, following a comprehensive evaluation of the season, the overall direction of our organization, I decided to make the change at head coach. Today, I informed John that he has been relieved of his duties. This was an incredibly difficult decision, given the tremendous 18 years we have spent together and the profound respect I have for John as a coach, and most importantly, as a great man of integrity. Throughout what I firmly believe is a Hall of Fame coaching career, John has delivered a Super Bowl championship to Baltimore and served as a steadfast pillar of humanity and leadership. He and his family have deeply embedded themselves in this community. For these profound contributions on and off the field, we should all be forever grateful. Our goal has always been and will always be to win championships. We strive to consistently perform at the highest level on the field and be the team and organization our fans take pride in. I will always be grateful for the extraordinary hard work and dedication displayed by John and his staff throughout this many successful years. I wish he, Ingrid, Allison, all the best going forward. We now begin the challenging but exciting process of identifying the next leader of our football team. We understand the expectations of our fans and everyone in Ravens organization. Finding another strong leader and partner who will reflect these high standards is paramount. We deeply appreciate the fans and will continue to work relentlessly to bring them, our city, and extended community the success they deserve.
Keyword there, I made the decision. Steve Bisciotti made the decision. And it was a tough decision. And first off, for everyone out there, again, John Harbaugh did tremendous things for this organization. So don't for a second try to downplay the impact that John Harbaugh had on the Baltimore Ravens. It didn't work out down the stretch here where you didn't reach your goal. But for John Harbaugh, there's a reason why he was here for 18 years, and there's a reason why the Ravens have stayed the Ravens. He has been instilled in that culture. What do you got, Zach?
We now have a statement from John Harbaugh. So, hold up.
You gonna put that up now? Okay.
Yes. So, John Harbaugh, for those listening. Well, I was hoping for a different kind of message. Always using emojis. I was hoping for a different kind of message on my last day here someday, but that day has come today. It comes with disappointment, certainly, but more with gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude to the owner and organization who was willing to bring in a head coach who made his mark with special team success, a difficult thing to do, and appreciation for all the moments, all the years that are etched into eternity. I hope a legacy built on faith, always fighting, always believing. Values built into an organization through a team that are worthwhile, good and lasting, and that are admired by fans and foes alike. Meaningful and impactful relationships with players through the years that I will cherish always, grateful for their strength and courage. Loyal partnerships in this wonderful building that grew into strong friendships through the toil and tempest of the job every day. Mostly to my treasured family, my Ingrid and my Allison, who are beyond compare in every way, the loves of my life, and my close-knit family and good friends who stick with you no matter what. Finally, to the author and finisher of our faith, gratitude for a journey beyond anything I could have dreamed of on my own. All is well with my soul because of God, of the good God who guides and sustains me. John Harbaugh. Do you think he meant to put that emoji at the top?
I don't. The emoji's interesting, but the message is very sentimental. The day is coming. Whether he was going to coach another year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, or being relieved, the time was coming because no one's going to coach forever. And John Harbaugh had an incredible run as the Baltimore Ravens head coach. And that's it. If you guys are coming into the show, we still got a lot of time left here. Actually, unfortunately, Zach, Trey Wingo had to change time. And so no Trey Wingo for now, but Charlie Kolar is still scheduled to join us here in the next 20 to 30 minutes. And we'll get Charlie's reaction to John Harbaugh being relieved.
Yeah. Have you gotten word from Charlie that he's still good?
No, nothing's changed from what I've heard.
I am very intrigued to see his reaction, and just because I think, kind of what Bo said, Charlie is a very introspective person. I mean, we've had him on he says what's on his mind. And I'm just intrigued, very excited to see what happens there.
Yeah. Oh God. Hey, Tom. Oh, when I move you.
Wow.
Holy. Hey, Tom. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. 20
Tom.
memberships. Appreciate that. Tom, you are too good to us. We are gushing over that. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you.
If only Kevin was on. But Tom, thank you so much. Wow.
Good kid. Good kid. The one thing I did want to point out, for a lot of Ravens fans, again, can be happy that there's change. Zach, you mentioned they got to get the hire right, but also reflect on there was so many positives that John Harbaugh brought. Like, this isn't supposed to be looked at as a negative. This is just looked at as this is the start of a next chapter. But for 18 years, even though there were frustrating years for, let's just say, the last 5, 6 to be exact, the Baltimore Ravens had been the Baltimore Ravens, and a big part of that is having John Harbaugh at the helm. So wish him the best of luck. Now the Ravens are going to be looking for who's going to be the next head coach, and they got some decisions to make, and they're not going to have that decision right now. And I don't think they should have one for a good amount of time. Like they need to think about this. They need to really sit down.
They get their pick. I do genuinely, unless someone is blown away with another situation, I think that they can afford to look at all options, because I do think a lot of guys are going to, if they have a choice, they would prefer Baltimore. So, I don't think this is going to be quick. I don't think this is something where suddenly in 3 days we know the next coach of the Baltimore Ravens.
No, we will not. But again, for those that are just tuning in now, the word John Harbaugh being out, but it's not a mutual parting. It was Steve Bisciotti's choice. Fired. He was relieved of his duties. And now the Baltimore Ravens are going to be looking for a new head coach here in 2026 and beyond. So if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you just became a channel member, thanks to Tom, give Tom a thumbs up. And if you want to become a channel member, click that join button. For our channel members, the Ribs Better Kids, I have the full Dan Orlovsky interview that we had before. That's going to you guys after this show. So appreciate you guys. We will post that. I do have a couple more clips that I'll post of Dan Orlovsky, because there is one about Harbaugh that actually still is relevant, Zach. So it still works out. I know you have to run here in just a moment. So, right? You still got to run?
Yeah, but I should be. We'll figure that out. But yeah, no. It's going to be right. I'm not going to lie. I'm still in shock. I can't believe this happened. I just see so many people talking about, him not having, being unemployed for long. I will say one thing though. If, now we have all the rumors that Mike Tomlin is considering going to the booth. Could you imagine that, that being the last Steelers-Ravens game for either Harbaugh and Tomlin, for both? That's just...
You know what? This it just made me think about this. Would you want a brand new head coach with no head coach experience, or do you want to solidified? Because I know this would never happen, because it just made me laugh. What if, funniest thing, Mike Tomlin leaves Pittsburgh and came to Baltimore? That would be the script that keeps going in the NFL. That ain't going to happen. But it just makes me think about this. An experienced head coach versus a brand new young voice. Because what did the Ravens do in 2008? They brought in a special teams coach to become the head coach with no head coach experience at the NFL level, right? And in this case, is that the way that the Ravens are going to go here? There's a good chance. Man, you're new to the channel. Hit that like and subscribe button. But let's play that clip from Dan Orlovsky here, because Dan talked about how he views John as a coach, but these were the issues that led to all this. So it's still very relevant here. But when I asked Dan Orlovsky right before we did this show, what would you need to see changed if the Ravens kept Harbaugh? But he still gave an answer of what they need to do regardless. So let me play that clip for you. We talked to Dan Orlovsky just before we went live here today. To you enough of a change with their structure that you could feel that things could be different next year?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Harbaugh is an elite coach, so I don't think that if they keep Coach Harbaugh, it's what people might be feeling with the New York Jets, right? And so I think, one, they would have to figure out, with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator, where is the offense going to go? What's the next step in evolution for the offense? It was historically great last year. Past season, even when Lamar was healthy, it fell off significantly. So you would have to figure out, is Todd the guy? I think he's a really good play caller. And if so, just how will they change some things schematically? They'd have to improve at both guard positions. There's no question about it. I think they'd have to entertain Mitchell as being a little bit more of a featured back. Derek is still very, very, very good, but they need more speed. I would tell you, I would love to see a perimeter player that has a little bit more of a diverse skill set with size. You know, Zay is obviously fantastic, but he's not a size guy. And there were some people that had moments this year, but I don't know how dynamic athletically they are. And then the defense would have to be something with Zach Orr, where, there's been too many long stretches over the past 2 seasons where you can't go, yeah, we're fine. Where they played bad football for 6-week stretches twice in the last 2 years. Pass rusher, obviously. So I think that there's pieces to the roster that probably fell flat this year unexpectedly that would have to improve.
So he was saying about, and it's interesting hearing from that because on both sides of it, they did fall flat. Things that I want to point out and get a little closer here, Zach. Things that I wanted to point out was Dan discussing they had two stretches over the last years of 6-game stretches of not playing good football with the talent that the Ravens have had. And some people would argue this is the most talented team that the Ravens have had ever, as far as just on paper. On paper, you got to go play the game. And they were not that. Even with Lamar hurt or not, they were not that. And then when Lamar came back, they still weren't that. Losing to the Bengals and Steelers back-to-back weeks at home was shocking, to say the least. The other part of him saying, obviously, the trenches, they gotta just create that identity, Zach. Like that identity has to come back in Baltimore for them to make a choice. And I think that is the biggest thing that I noticed from that part. And I don't think he's wrong. I also think he is right about saying an alpha. Zay Flowers is great. I don't think the Ravens necessarily need a complete alpha one, but it wouldn't hurt to see what that would look like if they did evolve to that. Because the passing game, one thing's been for certain. The Ravens have never had a true alpha one in the Lamar Jackson era. They haven't. And if you're not going to have that, that's where Dan is talking about, well, if you're not going to have him, use some of your other playmakers. Keaton Mitchell's involvement is going to be important to keeping Derrick Henry healthy down the stretch. So those are just my initial thoughts. You got anything else from that?
It's like we talked about with Q, in a lot of these things where it's like, yeah, John Harbaugh, he's the one cooking, but Eric DeCosta buys the ingredients. So, I think the biggest thing I'm taking away from this is like, yeah, I think in a lot of ways the talent was there. I'm very intrigued to see how they approach this offseason now, because if they bring in a new coach, does he go to DeCosta and say, I want things different? Meaning like, okay, hey, I'm focused on the trenches. We need trenches. Is he a guy who he's like, we need a number one receiver? I think Zay can be that, but like an alpha, a big guy, like, the AJ Brown, DK Metcalfs, go up and get it type guy. It's the identity is the biggest thing. Is they need to reestablish an identity with this pick for the next head coach. If they don't, that's going to come back to bite them. They need to find an identity and figure out who they are going to be going forward. Are they going to be a defensive team? Are they going to be an offensive team? Do you try to do the best of both worlds? We're hiring a veteran defensive coordinator, but an offensive-minded young guy, or a young defensive-minded guy with a veteran offensive coordinator. I'm intrigued to see how they build out the coaching staff, because let's be honest, we can sit here and talk about all the different coaching staffs and all of that we've had. In a lot of ways, whenever a guy is hired, whenever a guy is brought back, it's this quote-unquote Harbaugh tree. So you had this connections, these, guys that worked with John or Jim somewhere down the line. So you got a lot of good veteran coaches in there usually. It's going to be interesting. If you bring in a young guy, who does he bring in? You know, does he go out and get veterans? Does he have the same Rolodex to grab guys? Does he know who to go get? You know, where does that come from? It's going to be super intriguing. I see someone saying Cliff Kingsbury. I would love him as the offensive coordinator if they go with a defensive mind. You get Jesse Minter in here and then Cliff Kingsbury. That could be interesting. I don't think Kingsbury should be the head coach, but I don't know. This is just – I'm still trying to process all this.
And that's the biggest thing is process. And keep in mind, if we're processing this, how do you think then Steve Bisciotti and Eric DeCosta are trying to process this? They're going to have to make a decision, but this is there's an emotional connection here. And the one thing that you want to do moving forward with anything is you want to take emotion out of it. And the emotion, you rip the Band-Aid off, you're going to feel this type of way. There's a lot of people in Baltimore that, yeah, they feel like finally they're rejoicing. But there's a lot of people that are like you and me, Zach, that you are stunned. Not that you didn't think something needed to change, but there's an emotional feel where you go, I don't know how to feel. You know, you knew something had to change, and you're not against the decision, right? Like not against that, but you're sitting there going like the Ravens are going to go into an era that that most people, if you've been following the team the last 18 years, you've known nothing different. And that's really exciting. That's also a little nerve-wracking. And you're also just curious on what that's going to be. So I think the biggest thing is for Eric DeCosta and Steve Bisciotti and whoever's going to be involved in this search, they're going to have to take a step back and then evaluate who's out there. And the number one thing is what culture of the coach is going to come in and make the Ravens again.
Yeah.
And for the Ravens for 30 years, they just celebrated their 30th anniversary, Zach. For 30 years, the Baltimore Ravens have been known as an organization that rolled up their sleeves, punched you in the mouth, would run the football efficiently, and they wouldn't get bullied. And yet, over the last 2 years, in 2024 and 25, that started to shift. 2023, that Ravens team, you can argue, was the best Ravens team of all time. You could argue that. Not that they didn't accomplish the job because they didn't win the Super Bowl, but that 2023 Ravens team, no one wanted to face that defense, and no one down the stretch wanted to face Lamar Jackson in that offense. That team was terrifying. But even so, in the previous years, the Ravens' identity started to slip. And you need to get back to that. You need to get back to what is the Baltimore Ravens' identity going to be. You know, in Baltimore, they're not new to changes right now. The Orioles just went through it. And what was the one thing I've talked to you about, Zach, and anyone that's watched us on all this work, is you have to set the culture and philosophy of how you're going to play the game. Craig Albanez's job in Baltimore with the Orioles, we got to find a way to win no matter what. Scratch, claw, I don't care. We win 1-0, we win 10-0 or 10-9. We win. Set the culture. For the Baltimore Ravens, that's what they need to get back to.
Yeah, they definitely do. And actually, I'm very intrigued to see who just popped on thinks about all of this. So do we want to
we get pop on. I'm surprised he's not.
He pops on, then gives me the one sec. That's crazy. Okay, I see.
It's like he's like Kevin Schefter right now. You know.
We'll see. Gosh, I mean, just to real fast, about the identity. That's the biggest thing is find an identity. Who are you going to be? Who are you going to be? Are you going to be a team that goes out there and is going to run the ball? Are you a defensive team? Are you an aired out team? They got to find an identity because they've been lacking it. And the identity cannot be Lamar Jackson save us because that's been too long.
And the telling thing, and I know people don't want to look into words as much. I said it the other day, it was really telling to me that people, even if you're so pissed off, and like Lamar was pissed off in the presser, he was. And he said, I don't want to think about the future, but it is very simple to say, I love Harbs. Or, I love him. We'll see what happens. He said same thing. It was, I got to focus on me. I'll trust the organization. And at the end it was, I love Harbs, but I'll trust what the organization does. It was different. And you know what, though? Like, if Charlie's still supposed to come on here in 15 minutes, Charlie, I know, I heard him talk. He felt like what Bo said. He felt genuinely guilty for they felt that they let this staff down. So I think people are split, but I think that's the part here, Zach, is what I'm feeling or seeing. Clearly there's disconnect. There's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Like when you look at Chicago and you look at what Detroit went through with Dan Campbell, and I know that down year for the Lions, but they live and breathe what Dan Campbell does. They live and die with that man, and they still say that. Ben Johnson, it's everything's unified, and when you're winning, it's easy. But you got to be able to have that connection together. And the Ravens, it felt like it just started to feel like it was breaking. The dam was breaking little by little as we continued on here. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. And Kevin, when you're ready, just give us a thumbs up. Okay, you're ready? But also before we let Kevin on, because we're on this stream, so we got to shout out our new partner for 2026, AutoStream Car Care Center in Baltimore here in the Maryland region. They got 10 locations. Hey, how you doing? And to start off the partnership for 2026, you can get any service, $50 off any car service at their 10 locations. Have one of the best reviews. If you don't believe me, go check out their reviews online. You cannot combine the other offers that they're already running, but I'm telling you firsthand, they are a great group to work with. They give it to you straight. I trust them. They are good people, and that's all we're about here. Good people and making connections and trusting them. So appreciate AutoStream Car Care Center. Now let's get who's on the stream next. Mr. Kevin Ostriker of Locked On Kevin and Locked On Ravens. Kevin, how we doing?
Man, it's been a whirlwind. I'll tell you, I was getting ready to have a nice little relaxing Tuesday evening, and turns into anything but. Just finished up the live on Locked On Ravens, highest live I've ever had. So I think that tells you kind of how this over 1,100 people in there concurrent. So that is
wow,
that on YouTube. So that tells you how people are feeling about this move, and it's the right one. I know you guys have talked about it, but I agree with you guys where it just felt like, and especially for the fan base, like not even just talking about it from an organizational perspective, but from the fan base's perspective, it felt like they were hanging on by a thread. And it felt like the threads within that thread, with every playoff loss, with every fourth quarter collapse, it was just snapping, like every individual thread. And then finally, I feel like this Pittsburgh game was the last snap of that thread. And at this point, like, I had a lot of people in my comments on this morning show on Locked On Ravens talking about like, hey, if Harbaugh returns, I'm done watching this team. I'm just going to check the score. Like, it felt like people in the fan base were genuinely just getting checked out, because it's like, if they're going to run it back, we all know what happens. We all know how this story ends. So it honestly reminds me of what the Orioles did with Brandon Hyde, where it's like, yeah, the move could backfire if you move on from a guy, and especially a guy who's as decorated as John Harbaugh and the success he's built in Baltimore. But like you said, it felt like that foundation was cracking, and I would rather them get this hire wrong than not try it all, because you go to the success that John Harbaugh has had. And, they had opportunities to win Super Bowls and they didn't get it done. They moved backwards 2 seasons in a row. And at that point, how many times can you look yourself in the mirror if you're the Ravens organization and say, man, we can just continue to do this? So I know more information will come out probably over the next 24 or 48 hours. I know there are already coaches being linked to Baltimore, and Harbaugh's already apparent. People already have him pegged in for the Giants job. Like, it's all, I think it'll be a fast moving process, but at the same time, I think this is going to be a very wide net the Ravens cast. Something they did not do with their defensive coordinator search was Zach Orr. But remember, that was because everybody was chomping at the bit to go get a Ravens assistant coach after 2023. McDonald, Denard Wilson, Anthony Weaver. And the Ravens were like, man, we got to keep somebody in the building. So they went with Zach Orr. But I was asked this question a lot on my live about what does it mean for the staff. And maybe you guys have already answered this question, but I don't think anybody's coming back. I think everybody's gone, or at least most. Maybe a couple holdovers will stay, but the new coach is going to come in there and want to hire his guys. So Monken will go most likely, or will go most likely. A lot of those position coaches will be gone most likely. But there is a possibility they interview Monken for this thing and hire him. Like, there are so many different ways they could go, but all in all, I think this was the absolute right decision.
Kevin, you just put that in my mind of them hiring Monken for this job and just what would go down. But
Yeah.
Kevin, we asked Bo Smolka about this, and I wanted to get your opinion as well. How big of a voice or part do you think Lamar Jackson will play in helping select the next head coach?
I think he'll have a role. I don't think it will be like the Lamar Jackson is hiring the next head coach type of role, but I think that he will be involved in the process, and I think he should be. I think a lot of teams should be that way with their quarterbacks, right? Where he should have a voice, because in my opinion, the Ravens chose Lamar Jackson over John Harbaugh in this situation, and I think if you're going to do that, you want him to be involved in the process. Now, again, I think Lamar will be okay with anyone that they hire. I don't think he's going to throw a fit if they hire someone. He's like, man, that wasn't my top choice. But we've seen Lamar in the past, and we've heard the comments from John Harbaugh, from Todd Monken, and others, even Lamar himself, about DeCosta's talked about how he's like a part of the brain trust, I guess, or he's involved and they value his opinion. So again, I don't think it's going to be like Lamar says, hey, I want this guy, and the Ravens say, okay, we'll hire him. There's going to be a process, but we've heard Lamar send over his wide receiver lists or draft prospect lists to DeCosta, and he has preferences about those guys. In 2023, he requested to play with D-Hop and Odell, and they got Odell and almost got D-Hop too, apparently. That would have been the craziest day of my life. But I think that Lamar will be involved. Again, not to the point where he's making the hire, but I think his opinion does matter.
I mean, I think it has to matter, especially if this is your guy and you believe in him wholeheartedly, and he is every bit of the person you want your franchise to, or have your franchise be represented, which, again, everyone that talks about Lamar, I mean, that was the other thing. I forgot to pull that part out, Zach, and maybe, I don't know if we have enough time to clip it down. Dan Orlovsky even talked about, he goes, look, I love Lamar Jackson. Everyone said, I know with the Josh Allen and all that whole thing. He goes, but dude, can I tell you a thing real quickly about Lamar? He goes, Lamar is genuine and gives people time of day. So, and talking about his interactions with people. And it sounds like everything, that's someone you want to lead your franchise. And to me, and I know a lot of Ravens fans will look out there, and even the players, everyone says it's Lamar's team. They want Lamar. And if that is the case, and you are hoping to take the next step, then yes, I think Lamar, you need to have a connection with who's coming in. I think that is going to be important, because guys, whenever the contract extension happens, Lamar is that's going to get restructured here soon, right, Kev? That's going to be the next stage.
Yeah, that's the number one priority.
You need that to be a working marriage. You need that to be more than working. You need that to be the thing. And I think that's going to be a big priority. But again, I think it's going to go back to, you have to bring somebody in that is going to set the standard, set the culture. And Kevin, before you came on, I don't know if you heard that part of it. Clearly, whether people liked it or not, or people agree or not, there was you could feel a disconnect. I'm Charlie. I'm sure when he comes on here, I feel that he's going to feel guilty by things, but he's very thorough with his thought process. But there was clearly something wrong in that building this year. There was. Everyone that's been around sports, when something's not right. But when things are humming, you also can tell that. Look at how differently the Chicago Bears, I mentioned them earlier, but early in the season where they're trying to win, you could say that, okay, they're trying to buy into Ben Johnson. And then down the stretch, that whole locker room, the intensity, the electricity bought in. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I do want to say, that no matter what, the Ravens never quit. I don't think that any player quit down the stretch. And I want to emphasize that. So anyone saying, they don't play as hard as they do in Pittsburgh with the season on the line if they are quitting. Hell no, dude. So I want to point that out.
Yeah. And
more than anything.
Sorry, just to say something about, I think that with the mentality, right? I agree. I don't think no player on that team quit. They had an opportunity to go to the playoffs. I mean, there were opportunities for them. 1-5, man, all right, this is bad. But I don't think any player on the team quit. I do think the mentality, though, and I put out a clip from Harbaugh from July that got a lot of traction on social media about, you know, his mindset and essentially calling the Super Bowl or bust mindset garbage and phony. And, you know, that to me was just like, this cannot be the mindset that you have, especially when you have a franchise quarterback. I mean, if you're not Super Bowl or bust with a rookie quarterback after going 2-15, then sure, you know, you got to build that up for a couple seasons. But you're in the midst of one of the greatest careers we've ever seen, having one of the greatest generational quarterbacks we've ever seen. You have great talent around. I'm sure the roster's not perfect, but you can't tell me after making AFC championship games and tough playoff losses and building up this team, you know, you can't tell me that Super Bowl or bust shouldn't be the expectation every single year you have a player like Lamar Jackson. And I think, again, that mindset as the season ended, I look back on that clip and I'm just like, man, what has the mindset been for this year with this team? Because I know the players won a Super Bowl. They're in that, but there's also a message being delivered by the head coach. And I think that can cause a lot of like, well, what are we actually fighting for here? What are we playing for if that's the mindset of the guy that is leading?
Yeah, I mean, Mike McDonald can say, hey, we're not Super Bowl or bust. Vrabel can say, hey, we're not Super Bowl or bust. These guys that, you know, teams that, yeah, have high expectations, but like you said, Kevin, maybe it's their first year with Darnold and they're trying to build on something. This is their first time in the playoffs. You know, last year, the Patriots, now their first year with Vrabel, they're trying to build something. So if they're going, hey, we're building something here, it's not Super Bowl or bust just yet, but that's our goal. That's one thing. You can't say, hey, oh, no, it's not Super Bowl or bust. After your biggest flaw is the fact that you keep being favored to win. You keep going to the playoffs. You're in year 7 at this point, 8 of Lamar, and you keep getting right on the edge, and then you fall. Like that mindset, I agree. I just don't think, you know, that's where a change needs to be made, because at this point, like that's a read the room type thing, because it is Super Bowl or bust in Baltimore. It is Super Bowl or bust in Buffalo, you know, in San Francisco with the 49ers, you know, in LA with the Rams. That's Super Bowl or bust. You don't see any of those fan bases if they lose in the divisional round going, rats, like we'll get them next year. No, there are certain teams where it's Super Bowl or bust because you've already reached the other pinnacles. There's only one place left to go.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out here, if Luke makes the kick, we're not having this discussion right now. We're not. We're talking about the Ravens getting ready for the Texans, and if the Ravens beat Houston, then wait a minute, look at the rest of the AFC, and then this conversation is different. Maybe we're talking about with Mike Tomlin the Steelers, and I'll even go a step further. If the Ravens won in Buffalo last year, guys, and we're in the AFC Championship game, and say they fell to Kansas City, right on the road, tough game, and they lose to Kansas City, we still might not be having this conversation because it would have been 2 straight years of going to the AFC Championship game. You're right there. It was the drastic step back because at least in Buffalo's case, Josh Allen and the Chiefs have now, they've been to 2 AFC Championship games now with Josh Allen?
Yes.
So they have gotten to that level right before the Super Bowl, and they've been on the doorstep, and it felt like that the Ravens have proven that they deserve to be in the playoffs, but they've been on the doorstep not enough compared to some other teams. And I think that's definitely been held against Harbaugh. And whether or not the players got to go out and play, and I know Charlie's going to say a similar sentiment on that, but the results are what they are. The Ravens haven't gone back to the Super Bowl since they won it in 2012, but it's not been because they haven't been a number 1 seed or they haven't been a top team in the AFC. They have been both, but they've only been to 1 AFC Championship game, and they've had a lot of heartbreak over that time period, and hence here we are with the Ravens moving on. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. Do this live Monday through Friday. We're going to have a lot of guests on this week. We're tabling the baseball talk for now. Sorry, everyone. Just this is the news. This is the news around not just in Maryland. This is the news around the NFL. It's news in all sports right now. John Harbaugh, 18-year head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, is moving on. And actually, Jeff Cerebrick put out a tweet, guys, that said many people thought this afternoon Harbaugh was coming back.
Yeah.
And then he met with Bisciotti. And to clarify this, for people that said, well, they're going to see it out. No. Steve made the decisive choice.
Yeah.
And you got to give him credit for that. He made the choice. So whatever's happening here, this was Steve's choice.
Yeah.
And so for fans that wanted it, he came through with it. And he's made that move.
And we,
real
fast, Ryan, speaking of what the fans wanted, I did put a poll out for our viewers. We have 218 votes in so far. Just made the question, did the Ravens make the right move today? The options were yes, no, and not sure. So at the moment, we are 76% yes, 10% no, and 15% not sure. Honestly thought not sure was going to be a little higher, but at least at the moment, it looks like our viewers, it does seem like it's kind of to the point where Ravens fans were like, hey, it's time to move on. And like I've said, I don't think Harbaugh is a bad coach. In fact, I've seen rumors now that teams that have not even let their coach go are contacting Harbaugh's agent potentially about, hey, what's the interest level? Because I said that before. I was like, I wouldn't be shocked if a team fires their head coach if they think they get Harbaugh. He's a good coach. After 18 years, I don't think it's bad to say, hey, a message got stale. Hey, it's just time for a change.
Yeah.
Everyone has said out loud, Kevin.
Yeah.
Everyone, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
Zach.
good. Go ahead.
Everyone has said that you can say all you want about in-game management. Harbaugh is not a head coach for 18 years if he's not a good head coach. Dan even said he's an elite head coach. And the rest of the NFL is sitting there going, he's available now. That's not just for a coach that you think's okay. He was a good coach. He was a great coach. So I wanted to point that out, Kev. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there is a lot of conversation about 18 years. It's a long time. In today's day and age, it's rare. I don't even know if we're gonna see runs like Harbaugh and Tomlin again in terms of some of these I mean, even guys making it to 10 is extremely impressive. And I think for me, I think Harbaugh will get scooped up pretty quickly. Watch it be Cleveland. Watch him go to Cleveland. I'd see it. I mean, I could, or maybe it's like Harbaugh goes to the Giants. Like there are a lot of different things that could happen here. But again, having a tenure of 18 seasons, it is a very rare thing, not just in football, but within sports to have that happen. And so
dude, that's your entire childhood.
It's
like
almost 2 decades.
If you're born and you go through high school, that is your entire adolescence and majority of your teenage years.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
So also, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We're live. We're hanging. I do want to shout out a new channel member. Appreciate you. Reese, thank you. Well, hey, how you doing? If you want to be a channel member, click that join button. We're live every Monday through Friday now. Baseball season, a little housekeeping. Next week, we got to change the show time. Don't blame me. Blame the baseball schedule, okay? Baseball causes a lot of great moments, and it causes a lot of moments that get people pissed off. For me, I'm indifferent about that feeling. So I love the sport, but it is changing the time, but we want to keep the content going for you. So 3 p.m. start time for the Ryan Ripken Show moving forward next week. All right, Charlie, can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Hell yeah, dude. Are you rocking some glasses right now? Just chilling. Oh, hell yeah. All right, well, Charlie, if you're ready, let's bring on Ravens tight end, Charlie Kolar. Oh, hey now. Try it again. Charlie.
There.
What's up, guys?
Going on?
I just want to
What's
say
up?
before we start, you guys know this obviously. I did not know Coach Harbaugh was getting fired, and I agreed to get on here before. I would very much like to not be the first voice after, but I committed. I made my word. So before we get started, I'm not just getting on here because you got fired, but I appreciate you guys. Good to see you.
Yeah, I know, Charlie. I want people to know we didn't say like, "Hey, dude, come on to talk about all this," because that's
we
not
agreed well before that.
Yeah, dude. So Nick, friend of the show, friend of the program, he says it's the Nick Moore show. Nick wanted to come on and chat because you were coming on, not because of us. Nick had to do his family time, but yeah, I wanted to just talk about the year. I was telling people I know Harb's on a personal level, families do. And I don't need to, I'm not going to grill you on any of that stuff. It's not what it's about. Harbs in general
We can talk about it. It's pretty big news. It's all right. I'm saying we don't have to avoid it. I was just saying, make sure everyone listening know that was not the reason I got on. I got on because I agreed to it beforehand.
Okay, good. You said it, not me. Hey, but maybe just your initial reaction. Like,
I found out the same way everyone did. I got a text from my friends group chat. The Harbaugh got fired, and I looked on Twitter and saw it was true. Yeah, I mean, certainly shocked. I'm not like, I try to be as focused as possible, but like I have a phone, I have social media. I'm not naive. Like I see, there have been frustrations and stuff within the fan base. I have a lot of respect for Coach Harbaugh and what he's done. Like I heard briefly before I got on, you guys talking about it. Pretty incredible to be at one job in general for 18 years, let alone the head coach of a football team. I think it shows a lot of testament to him. The professionalism of the team. Uh, like we're not worried about like off the field issues. Like there's not like and other teams have had issues with like sexual misconduct stuff, and there's rats in the locker room, and there's stealing money, but like it's always been about football with the Ravens, and I have a ton of respect for that. A ton of respect for Coach Harbaugh and what he did. I guess I see like obviously we underachieved this year. We're preseason Super Bowl favorites. And then we didn't make the playoffs. So like it's disappointing. And this is a results driven business, and most of the time when you underachieve, someone has to pay the price. And I got a lot of respect for Harbaugh. Shooting must have shot him a text. I'm praying for him and appreciate him. But yeah, quite a day for Ravens news.
yeah, I mean, the thing for Harbs, whether people wanted this move or not from the public, I tell people a lot, when you're saying, oh, well, the Ravens all X, Y, and Z, you want to talk about the negative of how things ended. Harbaugh, the Ravens been around for 30 years. Harbaugh has been a part of that for over half of that. And he became such a huge part of that. So whether it became the time, and it sounded like Bisciotti, Steve's the one that made the call on it. I don't know if that was just from what I've seen. So like,
I have not seen that. I just saw
no, so that is, yeah. Just to inform you, that's what it seemed where a lot of people thought he was, and then Steve's the one that came out and said, "I made the decision." And yeah, but we're talking about being a Raven. Like Harbaugh has embodied that. He's been a Raven for 18 years. One thing I want you to touch on real quick, Charlie, because a lot of this, when people want to look at all the reports, and you guys, as much as you say you want to keep out of it, you're aware. But one thing I want to at least clear the air on, when everyone said, "Oh, this team wasn't fighting," to me, that you guys fought until literally the zeros were on the clock, and you could see in the face. I think you tweeted out a good way to put it: pain. Like there was you guys fought your ass off, dude. Fought your ass off.
Yeah, I try not to tweet too much, but I was drinking beers last night, and I was just sad, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is miserable. I mean, I got issue with questioning the effort. I feel like if you turn on the tape, it's there from everyone. Obviously, the performance was not there. I mean, we went 8-9. We lost winning and getting in the playoffs. You got to win those games. We're gonna do that. So, yeah, I can. I mean, I know for myself. I feel like my teammates saying, but I can look myself in the mirror and like, I'm not happy. But I can lay my head down at night and know that I gave it everything I had in preparation in the off season and then playing. I think most guys feel the same way. So I hope that showed. But yeah, obviously, I'm a fan of sports too. Like I get it. Like I'm from Oklahoma. I've always been a Thunder fan. Like I can't go out there and play like they can, but I'm sure going to yell when they don't, and I'm going to be upset. And so like I get it. Like I get it's frustrating, but I just like from my perspective, I know that like we gave it everything we had, and we came up short. That's sports, and it sucks.
Yeah, here's the thing. The reality, the kick goes not wide right and clips inside the upright. We're not even having this conversation.
Yeah,
like you guys are getting ready for H-Town and the Texans. Yeah. Like that's as little as it is. But Zach and Kev, I have one question for you each, and then I'll let you get on out of here and relax. But Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, Charlie talked about just kind of the season, and obviously not the result you wanted, but for you personally, one of your probably the best season as, with a lot of the receiving yards and then obviously blocking statistics. for you, what was it like in the hard work going in, putting it in to go into this season? And was that something that you focused on, knowing, especially early in the year, Isaiah Likely, he was down for a little bit, knowing maybe more opportunities were coming your way. What was your mindset and the work you put in like to kind of have this year where you took that next step again?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I knew it was my contract year and it was a big year, but I feel that the NFL is kind of like every job, it's oftentimes what you put in the off season and then the prior years. And I feel like, I came into the league frankly, I was just so weak. I had 2 core surgeries in 2 years, and I was just such not the athlete I had the potential to be. And there's so much degradation in the season. It takes off seasons to, get back, get stronger, get healthier. I feel like the ability to stack multiple years in a row healthy just really, really is a huge boon and advantage, and everyone in the NFL knows that. And I feel like just personally, just really taking a pride in what my role was. Um, I've said it before. Obviously, I want more targets. Everyone wants more targets, and I feel like I made good plays when I got those targets. But I can only control what I did. I feel like I made those plays in the pass game. I was open, and then in the run game, I felt like I really took the next step. I thought I was pretty solid my first year doing it, and which was my second year, and then third year I thought I was pretty good. I thought I took a really good step this year. Getting a lot more dominant on the edge, able to actually create movement. These DENs there's some boys, like there's some dogs out there. So to move another grown man against his will is incredibly difficult. And I feel like I got a lot better about that throughout the year. And I was able to really, especially the last month of the season, I thought Pat and I did a really good job on the edge, creating some run lanes. And obviously the O-line, Isaiah and Mark, but I play with Pat primarily. So I have a lot of pride in that myself. And as frustrated as I am with the season, I can look back and take pride in how I've grown. And I feel like I've put myself in a good spot going into my free agency year. I'm actually really happy and grateful that free agency isn't for a while, because I feel, and a lot of players I know agree with this, there's just so many emotions at the end of the year that I would not want to be making a decision about my future right now. I really just want to sleep and eat and relax. And so I'm glad we get some downtime. But yeah, I feel like I did the best I could this year.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, decompress.
Yeah.
And if your drink of choice is Bud or beer, whatever it is, mine's tequila, and I drink vodka, and then I'll have some cervezas. It's a grind. The season, you put so much time and effort in. You need to decompress. Kev, question real quick.
Yeah, Charlie, I know that, at least coming into this year, all 3 of you guys were slated to hit free agency. I know Mark got his extension, but to me, you 3.
Impact, yeah, 4.
Yeah, well, all 4 of you guys. But I mean, for you guys all hitting free agency, it was that thing. But now with Mark getting his deal, can you just kind of talk about Isaiah, Mark, and Pat? I know you talked about Pat a little bit there, but kind of the dynamic you have with those guys and kind of what the room was like, because I know that there are a lot of conversations about all you guys, all 4 of you. But I think that, in my opinion, you guys are the best tight end room in the league. And I think that I at least appreciated knowing that at least at your position, you had all those guys ready and available, ready to rock.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It means a lot. We talked about it yesterday. When it's so crazy how fast the NFL season is over. You play the game, you get home at 4 a.m., you can't sleep, you get up for a team meeting, bam, the season's over. You never see half those guys again. It's just wild. So we were in the tight end room afterwards with George and the tight ends, and we were all talking, and it was just very mutual in the sentiment that a lot of gratitude. You spend so much time with that group, and man, it was a joy it was a challenge, because we're all, I think, quite talented, and we're all pushing each other for reps, for targets, for playing time. Like, that's exactly how you want it, though, because it was on the other side, you also have support from each other. Like, that's exactly what you need in your position room. And so I'm so grateful for those guys these 4 years. I know obviously there's a really good chance that not all 4 of us are back, so it's going to look different in some capacity. But I'm incredibly grateful. Pretty rare that, over a 4-year span, you have mostly the same continuity inside in room, and that's pretty crazy. And I think it was awesome. And I think it was genuinely awesome. And I hope in some capacity we get to work together again. We'll see what that works like. But I know that, so 3 of us are now free agents. Now Mark resigns, so we'll see. Obviously, Pat is older. I know he's been the same team his whole life, and it's fits so well with him. And I know Isaiah and I, it's our first time going through free agency, so it's much different. Man, I just think the world of those guys. I think wherever they go, whether it's here or somewhere else, they're going to continue. And I think you're going to see, you know, as cool as it is to play together, obviously we do naturally, take some of others' playing time and targets. And I feel like you're going to see, if we do end up in different spots, a lot of, a lot more statistical from these guys. Cause like, I mean, Mark and Isaiah could both have 100 plus targets and they both get half that. So, I mean, it's just, it's gonna be really cool to see no matter how it plays out. Yeah, I just, as sad as it is, I do feel incredibly grateful. I get to do a job that I never thought I was going to do. I never thought I was going to play in the NFL until, maybe third year college, second, third year college. Uh, and it's such a good group of guys on the team. It's kind of what makes it hurt so much worse. And it's such a good group of people in the tight end room. So it's a great room.
One of the things that I always tell people when I played baseball, Charlie, I didn't get a chance to get to the big leagues. I got to AAA, right? So one level below. One thing I always appreciated more than anything was how I was viewed by others that I interacted with, but then my peers. So why I'm bringing this up to you, how you're viewed in the Ravens community. I don't know if you know this or not. People love you, dude. They love your personality. They love how you interact. They love how you make them feel. And they also recognize a dude that embodies the mantra of play like a Raven, like you did. And you also you did the dirty work and you got better every year and you busted your ass. So the fans and community recognize that, but then your own peers, your teammates talk about you. And that was, to me, what always stuck with me as a player was how I was viewed by those people closest to me. So I hope you recognize that. I think you already know that.
That means a
And
lot.
even Nick Moore, I don't know if Nick's nice to you, and I don't care what he says, because Nick's Nick. Just kidding. He's a good kid. If he thinks he can beat you in a race, don't know if that's true. He says he can get to 20 miles an hour now. That's
In a truck, yeah.
I don't know about that, but I hope you know that.
That means a lot. I appreciate it.
So
I have great parents that raised me my way. I'm incredibly blessed with parents and siblings. And then, I had a coach a long time ago tell me that stats and wins fade, but who you are and how you make people feel never changes and it always remains. And try to do the best I can. I'm certainly flawed, like we all are, but I've always believed that if you try to do the right thing, you work as hard as you possibly can, and you trust God with the rest, usually good things work out. And if they don't, usually there's another plan you can't see. So, but no, I appreciate that. That's very kind.
yeah, man. Well, hey, I hope the best for you. I hope you enjoy how do you play your golf again? The mulligan rounds. I forget what you said on that day.
I don't know.
Style.
I don't know exactly. I never let my score dictate my enjoyment of the round. But
Yeah, you had a phrase though that you used.
oh man, I love mulligans. I can't remember. Probably a dumb one liner. I feel like I'm kind of a dork, and so I think it's hilarious when like people actually think it's funny. But I I genuinely like. It's not that I don't like work incredibly hard at things in life. I just don't take the non-important things that seriously. And I think sometimes Mads and I have a little bit of discussions about that, my fiance, because I get very, like even wedding planning, obviously it's like everyone talks about, it'll buff out, it'll work out. But I need to work on that certainly. But no, I try to have fun with golf and everything. It's just life's too short and I'm so incredibly blessed. So I try to be grateful.
Are you stressed about or wedding planning? You good coming from someone that just went through it 2 months ago, 3 months
Oh
ago?
no, we're good. We're good. We got
You're locked.
we got had a wedding planner. She helps out a ton. I'm certainly increasingly surprised at how much that industry charges for everything, to say the least.
Dude.
I feel that the market value of things are overinflated, but I I'm very grateful for that. I am financially blessed. We actually start our marriage prep next week. Super excited about that. Just booked our honeymoon, so no, it's great. We're in a good spot. We get married in April. I'm super excited. I invited a lot of guys that played with the last few years and in college, so it's a great time. It's crazy how short these things are. Spend every day with these people, and then bam, it's over. So like, I'm really excited for things like that to see those people, and excited to start my life with Mads. But no, we got tons of stuff done before the season started, and we're in a good spot.
Oh yeah, man. Well, enjoy all of it. I just went through the wedding, the honeymoon, went to Paris and
That's awesome.
Switzerland, and you're gonna have a great time. And the other thing that you mentioned, when you play professionally or around people, you have two families. You have your family life when you're done, and you have your family of brothers when you're there that you spend just as much time, if not more, there. So, hey, just let the good times roll, man. I hope we'll see what happens. I hope you stay in Baltimore, but whatever happens, man, you're gonna crush it. Wish you nothing but the best. I'll keep tabs on you though, and hopefully we'll have you back on where it's not about the timing of this.
Yeah, interesting.
I'd rather you
timing.
talk about like Taylor Swift concerts or whatever when you're at tight end U. Like that seemed more cool to me.
Yeah, it's never fun to talk about people getting fired, but I understand it's what everyone wants to hear. So, I got to run, but I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate you, Charlie.
See you guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
Charlie.
evening.
See ya.
Thanks, Charlie.
Good guy, man.
It really
guy.
is. That's
Yeah,
very,
agree.
very introspective. I enjoy our conversations with him, and I like how I'm glad he did do that little disclaimer at the front of like,
Yeah.
wasn't planning on being the first person to talk about it, but
Right.
you say he's a man of his word, so really do appreciate that.
So that's the thing I like to tell with people, and I think that's why people love Charlie so much. And I wanted him to know that. This industry is tough, professional sports. Even the media side is tough. People are going to dissect everything you say. And you can hear in his words how much it hurts losing. Like, that's what I'm saying. The competitor, it hurts. It hurts that you didn't reach your goals, but you understand. I tell you guys, it's a business. You're aware of it. But he controlled what he could control every single day. And I think that's what Ravens fans realized. Went to work, worked his ass off, treated people with kindness and respect, and gave them the time. And someone's going to pay him. So he's going to get paid. We're talking about a high character guy. That's why I want this guy back in Baltimore, dude.
Yeah.
That's why I want him back. I do. So
He's a guy we don't want to lose. Just from every respect.
No.
Just like I
Time
said.
will tell.
Yeah. Gosh. I really did not think that this was how the show was going to go.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, I think that kind of does it. Not trying to put a damper on anything. I can like, of all the people today, I felt that.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, you felt that. So, well, hey guys, I mean, Ryan Ripken show on Tuesday, January 6th. How you doing? If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. This will be on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast later on. Appreciate you guys on that. Appreciate Dan Orlovsky jumping on beforehand. It would have been good timing if Dan was here like an hour and a half later, but appreciate his time. Channel members, you'll see that full interview later on today. Appreciate Bo Smolka with Pressbox Online. Appreciate him. And he's moving on from covering the Ravens. That's a time, Kevin, I don't know if you heard that. Bo started at Pressbox when Billy Cundiff missed the kick, and it ends of him covering the Ravens with Loop in Pittsburgh. So shirts and pants, man. Appreciate everyone, and Charlie, obviously. Appreciate his time. And Kevin, thank you for joining.
I had to hop on. This was one of the biggest days in Baltimore sports history, honestly, with the magnitude of this news. So
yeah, no doubt about it. And one more time, if you guys love the stream, well, hey, you also love AutoStream, by the way. We just signed a partnership with them. AutoStream Car Care Center. They got 10 locations in the Maryland area. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, hey, to start in this partnership, you mentioned Ryan Ripken, you can get $50 off any service. It's that simple. And they're great people. We don't like to partner with people unless we have trust and faith in them. And I think you're going to feel the same way. So appreciate them. Appreciate Merritt Clubs as always. Merritt Clubs is great to us as well. And all of our channel members and everyone that watches us each day, we don't do this without your support. So thank you. This wasn't supposed to be. Charlie's got me in my feels, man. John Harbaugh is out as the Ravens head coach. It's a moment that felt like it was coming, whether it was this year down the road, it was inevitable, but it still makes you pause to think about all the good moments, even if it feels it is the right one. And for most of you, Zach, the poll ends with over 3/4 of the group.
Yeah, let me actually pull that back up really fast. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 360 votes in, 76% say yes, 12% say no, and 12% say not sure. So at least from our viewers, the resounding opinion is that the Ravens made the right move. But like I said, we won't know until we get the hire and we see how this plays out.
Oh, sugar. Well, Kevin, you're going to stay busy now with Locked On Ravens moving forward, huh?
Yes, yeah. Another episode tomorrow. Again, we had the live. Gonna social media buzzing. I mean, it's a lot of content that's about to be here with all the rumors and candidates and other staff hires. Like lots of unknowns here right now.
A lot of unknowns. Well, guys, I don't even know if the music's working, but I think no music today for the Ryan Ripken Show. It's an end of an era in Baltimore. John Harbaugh, after 18 years, is no longer the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. There'll be a new voice here. 30 years the Ravens have been around. John Harbaugh has been that voice for 18. Who's going to be the next voice? Well, that's going to be up for discussion here the rest of the week until the hire, whenever it's going to be. So, as always, here at the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate every single one of you. Have a day, have a night, and guess what? We'll be back tomorrow to talk about all of this, and we'll mix in some baseball too. Be good, be safe.